Dear esteemed colleagues, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year 2022. It is this time of the year that we come to write down our New Year's resolution. Last year, if you still recall, I published an article on iZone magazine entitled Are Optometry New Year's Resolutions Different than Non-Optometry New Year's Resolutions? And with the help of esteemed colleagues, I was able to write down 10 resolutions that were mostly suggested and envisioned. I was full of confidence that every optometrist has a lot going on, and I decided to provide him with the opportunity to elaborate on his achievements throughout 2021. And I know that it is so hard to stay resolute on a resolution. Motivation is finite, and we often run out of motivation very quickly before we achieve our goal. I was also knowledgeable that most of us would have abandoned their New Year's resolutions by the time the article gets published. I knew that because, according to a New York Times research, 1 in 4 abandons his New Year's resolution by January 8th, and less than 10% of resolutions are actually kept by year end. Moreover, 80% of resolutions fail within 6 weeks, which means by Valentine's Day, 8 out of 10 resolutions have failed. And despite all the motivation and the piles of well-intended and written goals and plans, the path to acting on intentions and achieving goals as well as executing plans the way we want them can be very different than what we have originally conceived. Challenges can emerge, and obstacles often cause us to change our course, leading us to wane our motivation and forgo the whole resolution. In last year's article, I came to the conclusion that resolutions are about change that consists of reviewing past events in the present time and thinking in a different future. No one can predict what will happen in the future. And based on those assumptions, we came up with a process, and we suggested that if we'd be able to implement it, we should be able to accomplish a resolution. The process looked at 3 stages: the past, the present, and the future. And from the past, we can collect valuable information about a why because statement that shows us the reason we succeeded or failed in a specific action or business. The present answers a what how statement that shows us what we are doing to sustain or what we are thinking about our current situation. And of course, the future can be conceived around an if-then series of statements aligned with a probabilistic way, but much more related to uncontrollable events that can never be on intentions. For example, the day we set our goal, we might be highly motivated, but over time, as motivation slows, we end up far behind achieving our goal. And to that, I added and suggested a series of actions that I actually imported from the HBR book, The Knowing-Doing Gap by Sutton and Pfeffer, which I came across during my MBA studies a decade ago. And those series of actions that companies actually follow to reduce the gap between knowing and doing, and they include actions like stop emphasizing talk over action, stop letting memory substitute to action, stop fear from preventing action, stop measurement from obstructing good judgment, and stop internal competition. And all those actions actually contribute to learning by doing rather than knowing first and then trying to apply or trying to do what we have already learned. But with all of that, even with the process and all the series of actions from the book, one by one, we started abandoning our resolutions, and by the end of January, I lost track of half of my colleagues' news about their resolutions. And when Valentine's Day came, I suddenly realized that I have lost track of all my resolutions, and I couldn't even remember a single one of them. But I was actually, and fortunately, I was lucky. And it's been a couple of days that I was reading about a book called Tiny Habits, The Small Changes That Change Everything by Stanford University behavior professor B.J. Fogg. And Dr. Fogg's counterintuitive system tells us that the gap between our goals and our actions is actually the sweet spot for change. He emphasizes on two easy ways to achieve and to be able to accomplish long-term behavioral shifts. The first one is to change your environment, and the second one is to create new habits. And Dr. Fogg throws away the whole notion of motivation and its relation to achieving goals. He suggests that we don't have to be obsessed with the importance of taking enormous actions in order to achieve our goals. Instead, he recommends small but measurable shifts that one by one build up to our bigger goals over time. And Dr. Fogg claims that tiny habits limbo under the bar of low motivation. Given these facts, you should be able to effectively and sustainably shift your habits with skill and practice instead of continuous motivation. And in the same way, Aristotle famously said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." And following Aristotle's saying and Fogg's Tiny Habits, I launched OpticalForum on the 14th of February 2021. And after roughly 10 months of daily tiny habits, and with the help of volunteering colleagues, contributors, reviewers, and the tremendous support of members of the editorial board, the result is 10 flipbook issues containing over 250 articles ranging from 300 to 2,500 words, more than 1,000 social media posts, all in all exceeding 100,000 words written that can serve to help eye care professionals get tips and better insights and topics like entrepreneurship, practice management, marketing, consumer behavior, persuasion, and much more. A large number of audience, thousands of social media followers, and weblog subscribers. To me, this is really a trial and error approach, expecting any outcome and steadily growing in untapped horizons. And according to Sutton, it takes time, mentorship, and trial and error to ace the job we are doing, or even to becoming a good leader. As I end this comment, I would like to invite you this year to read Tiny Habits and try those tiny habits actually on your New Year's resolution, but also to share your Optometry 2022 resolutions with us, just like you did last year, so that we can follow up and grow together, and we can build upon each other's experiences. And below you will find a link to this year's updated Google form that I invite you to fill in order to share your resolutions with us. And once again, as I end this comment, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and cheers for a 2022 full of prosperity.